So hi everybody. So in the last class under this semi description of flowering plants, so we discussed up to the vegetative characters of a plants. So vegetative characters of the plant includes root, stem and leaves. Okay. So under the root we discussed so what is the nature of root in that plant and whether it shows any kind of modifications and all. You have to write under this semi description. So under the stem we discussed what kind of a stem it is, whether it is aerial or underground, whether it is erect or climbing. So then any special modifications were there for stem. We discussed the previous class. Along with that, under the leaf we discussed what kind of leaf it is, whether it has a stipule or not, or whether it has a stalk or not, like a pedicel called as a pedicellate or sessile. Then what kind of a lamina it has, whether it is a simple leaf or a compound leaves, and what is the nature of a lamina. So these are all the things we discussed under the leaf. Okay. So let us discuss next characters, that is floral characters. Floral characters. So this floral characters include the character of inflorescence. Okay, so we write here, can we begin here. So under the floral character, inflorescence. Okay, then flower character. Then individual structure of a flower, that is different whorls of a flower such as calyx, corolla, then androecium, then gynoecium. So these are the characters, and you should be right in this order only. So if they ask for write the description of a particular plant, you need to write in this order. Under the floral characters, inflorescence, flower, calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium should be described in a specific order. Since it is a semi-description scientific order, so you should follow the same order. Inflorescence, flower, calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. So let us see, so what are all the characters that need to be right under this inflorescence. Okay, so you know the definition of inflorescence. Inflorescence is the arrangement of a flower and a floral axis, or simply arrangement of flower is nothing but inflorescence. Okay. Then two types of inflorescence were there. So you need to write whether the inflorescence is cymose or racemose. Okay, so cymose inflorescence ideo athwa racemose inflorescence ideo baribekagutte. Or under the cymose one special kind is also there, such as solitary, that can also be mentioned. Solitary andre onde flower iruvantadu, that is solitary. So cymose inflorescence is a type of inflorescence where the arrangement of a flower is a basipetal succession, whereas in racemose acropetal succession. That means in cymose inflorescence, older flower at the tip and smaller flower at the base. Okay, that is called cymose inflorescence. So it is called a basipetal. So this is younger and this is older flower. So it is cymose inflorescence antivi. Whereas in case of racemose inflorescence, older at the base, younger at the tip. So ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಇದನ್ನು acropetal ಅಂತೀವಿ, ಇದನ್ನು ಬೇಸಲ್ಲಿ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ basipetal ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. So this is about cymose and racemose inflorescence. And one more difference is so cymose inflorescence cannot grow continuously further like this, so it ends with a flower, whereas in racemose inflorescence axis can grow further. Okay, ಮತ್ತೆ grow ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ racemose inflorescence ಅಲ್ಲಿ. So there is a difference between the cymose and racemose inflorescence, whereas in the solitary the floral axis ends with a single flower. So ಇಲ್ಲಿ floral axis end ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಒಂದು flower ಇರುತ್ತೆ. So such type of inflorescence is called as solitary. Only ಒಂದೇ ಒಂದು flower ಇರುತ್ತೆ, that is called a solitary. So these are the things you need to write, whether it has a cymose inflorescence or racemose inflorescence or solitary inflorescence, that should be mentioned under the characters like inflorescence. So next come to the flower character. ಸೊ ದ ಹೋಲ್ ಡಿಸ್ಕ್ರಿಪ್ಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಎ ಫ್ಲವರ್. ಸೊ ಫ್ಲವರಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೇನೆಲ್ಲ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರ್ಸನ್ನು ಬರಿಬೋದಾಗಾದರೆ, ಸೊ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ ಯು ನೀಡ್ ಟು ಬಿ ರೈಟ್ ವೆದರ್ ದ ಫ್ಲವರ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಬ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ಆರ್ ನಾಟ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಬ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ಅಂತ ಅಂದರೆ ಫ್ಲವರ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಂದರೆ, ಸೊ ಸಪೋಸ್ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ಫ್ಲವರ್. ಈ ಫ್ಲವರ್ನ ಬೇಸಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಅಪೆಂಡೇಜ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಲೀಫಿ ಅಪೆಂಡೇಜ್ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಎಟ್ ದ ಬೇಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಎ ಫ್ಲವರ್. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ is called as bract. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಸಿಂಗಲ್ ಫ್ಲವರಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಥರ ಇರ್ಬೋದು. ಆರ್ ಇಫ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಇನ್ ಇನ್ಫ್ಲಾರಸೆನ್ಸ್, ಸಪೋಸ್ ಇದು ಇನ್ಫ್ಲಾರಸೆನ್ಸ್ ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಇನ್ಫ್ಲಾರಸೆನ್ಸ್ನ ಬೇಸಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ರೀತಿ ಫ್ಲವರ್ ಬೇಸಲ್ಲಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ is called as bract. Okay, so if bract is there, we can mention it as a bracteate. If bract is absent, it is called as ebracteate. So the first character you need to be right in the flower is whether the flower is bracteate or ebracteate. Okay, so ಈ ರೀತಿ ಇದ್ರೆ ಬ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ಸೊ ಫ್ಲವರ್ ಈ ರೀತಿ ಇತ್ತು ಅಂದರೆ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ebracteate. So bracteate or ebracteate, that is the first character you need to be mentioned. Okay, so adad nantara you need to write about the symmetry of a flower. So what kind of symmetry it has, whether it is actinomorphic or actinomorphic ಇದೆಯೋ ಫ್ಲವರು ಅಥವಾ ಝೈಗೋಮಾರ್ಫಿಕ್ ಇದೆಯಾ. Then let me tell you what is a actinomorphic and zygomorphic. So if a flower can be cut into two equal olives in any plane, ಯಾವ ಪ್ಲೇನಲ್ಲಿ ಕಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೂ ಅದು ಟೂ ಈಕ್ವಲ್ ಆಲಿವ್ಸ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರೆ that is called actinomorphic. Okay, whereas in zygomorphic, two equal olives can be obtained only in one plane, either in this direction or in this direction. Only one plane, if you get the two equal olives, then it is called as zygomorphic. So two types of flowers based on that symmetry, actinomorphic or zygomorphic. Okay, so after this you need to write whether it has a stalk or not. So that character, technical term for that is the stalk of a flower is called as a pedicel. So pedicellate or sessile. So ಹೇಗದು, suppose this is the floral axis, as a stalk, calyx and corolla. So this is one kind of flower. So this is pedicel, it has a pedicel. If no pedicel is present, calyx, corolla. So this is called sessile. Okay, sessile ಅಂದರೆ ವಿತೌಟ್ ಸ್ಟಾಕ್ ಅಂತೇಳಿ. ಸೊ ಫ್ಲವರ್ಗೆ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಸ್ಟಾಕ್ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಪೆಡಿಸಿಲೇಟ್, ಸ್ಟಾಕ್ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟಾಗಿ ಕೇಲಿಕ್ಸ್ ಅಟ್ಯಾಚ್ ಆಗಿದ್ರೆ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಸೆಸೈಲ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಬ್ರಾಕ್ಟಿಯೇಟ್ ಆರ್ ರಿಬ್ರಾಕ್ಟಿಯೇಟ್, ಆಕ್ಟಿನೋಮಾರ್ಫಿಕ್ ಆರ್ ಝೈಗೋಮಾರ್ಫಿಕ್, ಪೆಡಿಸಿಲೇಟ್ ಆರ್ ಸೆಸೈಲ್. ಸೊ ಅಂದರೆ ಎರಡನ್ನೂ ಬರೆಯೋದಲ್ಲ, ಅದರ ಒಂದು ಬರೀಬೇಕು. ಸಪೋಸ್ ಈಗ ಫ್ಲವರಲ್ಲಿ ಬ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಬ್ರಾಕ್ಟಿಯೇಟ್, ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಆಕ್ಟಿನೋಮಾರ್ಫಿಕ್ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಆಕ್ಟಿನೋಮಾರ್ಫಿಕ್, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಪೆಡಿಸಿಲೇಟ್ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಪೆಡಿಸಿಲೇಟ್, ಲೈಕ್ ದಟ್ ಯು ನೀಡ್ ಟು ರೈಟ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಇದಾಯಿತು. ಇದಾದ ನಂತರ so whether the flower is unisexual or bisexual, that should be mentioned. So flower unisexual means whether the flower is pistillate or staminate, that can also be mentioned. So unisexual or bisexual. So flower ಅಲ್ಲಿ androecium and gynoecium ಎರಡೂ ಇದ್ದರೆ it is called bisexual. If the flower either has androecium, only stamens ಇರೋದು, ಅಥವಾ either it has only carpel or gynoecium, that is called unisexual. ಅಂದರೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರೋ ಫ್ಲವರ್ ಟ್ವಿಗ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಫ್ಲವರ್ಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಯೂನಿಸೆಕ್ಸ್ ಇದೆಯೋ ಅಥವಾ ಬೈಸೆಕ್ಸ್ ಇದೆಯೋ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನು ಯು ನೀಡ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಮೆನ್ಷನ್ ಬೈ ಸಿಂಪಲ್ ಟರ್ಮ್ಸ್, ಯೂನಿಸೆಕ್ಸುವಲ್ ಆರ್ ಬೈಸೆಕ್ಸುವಲ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ದಟ್ ಇಫ್ ದ ಫ್ಲವರ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಆಲ್ ದ ಓರಲ್ಸ್, calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium ಇದ್ರೆ it is called a complete. ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಅಂತೀವಿ, ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಆಪೋಸಿಟ್ ಇನ್ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್. whether the flower is a complete flower or incomplete flower. If any whorl is missed, it is called incomplete. If all the whorls are present, it is called as complete flower. Okay. Then, so bracteate, ebracteate, actinomorphic or zygomorphic, pedicellate or sessile, unisexual or bisexual, complete or incomplete, and because we are going to mention unisexual and bisexual, that also indicate that. So after this you need to write whether the flower is epigynous, or hypogynous or perigynous. ಈ ಮೂರು ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಯಾವ್ದಾದ್ರು ಒಂದು ಬರೀಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ಏನಿದು ಎಪಿಗೈನಸ್ ಅಂದರೆ? ಸೊ ಎಪಿಗೈನಸ್ ಫ್ಲವರ್ಸ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ the ovaries, position of the ovary is below the calyx, or calyx and corolla present above the ovary. Okay, so ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಗೈನಿಷಿಯಂ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸಪೋಸ್ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಗೈನಿಷಿಯಂ. ಈ ಗೈನಿಷಿಯಂನ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ calyx ಇರುತ್ತೆ. Okay, so this is ovary, this is calyx. All floral appendages are present above the ovary. It is called epigynous. So hypogynous ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ovary, all the floral appendages, they are present below the ovary. So this is calyx. So this is ovary. So this is calyx. So ಈ ಥರ ಇದ್ರೆ it is called hypogynous. Then perigynous. So perigynous means ovary and calyx are present at the rim of a ovary. Calyx ಈ ಥರ ಓವರಿನ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ರಿಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ರೀತಿ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಓವರಿ, ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ calyx. ಸೊ ಈ ರೀತಿ ಇತ್ತು ಅಂದರೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಪೆರಿಗೈನಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಲೆಟ್ಸ್ ಸಿ ಒನ್ ಮೋರ್ ಟೈಮ್. ಸೊ ಯು ನೀಡ್ ಬಿ ರೈಟ್ ದ ಫ್ಲವರ್ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಲೈಕ್ bracteate or ebracteate, actinomorphic or zygomorphic, pedicellate or sessile, unisexual or bisexual, complete or incomplete, epigynous or hypogynous or perigynous. That should be mentioned. Okay, so these are the characters you need to be mentioned in a flower. Okay. So next come to the individual whorl of a flower such as calyx. So what are the characters you need to be write under the calyx? Okay. So the flower characters describe the entire flower character, and individual you are going to write it separately. So begins with the calyx. Second, calyx ತಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ how many individual member of calyx is called a sepal. So you need to write how many sepals are present there. Number of sepals you need to write first. Number of sepals. So how to write it? Like example, sepals 5, sepals 5 or sepals 4 or sepals 10, like that you need to mention. Number of sepals, first thing you need to write. Then after that you need to mention whether all the sepals are free or all the sepals are united. The condition is called as whether the sepals are polysepalous or gamosepalous. Okay, so polysepalous ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಎಲ್ಲಾ sepals fuse ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. poly ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಫ್ರೀ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. gamosepalous ಅಂದ್ರೆ all the sepals are united. So such condition is called gamosepalous. So only 3 characters you need to be write under the calyx. So number of sepals, polysepalous or gamosepalous, or next last character estivation you need to mention. You need to mention about the estivation. So you already learned about the estivation, like valvate estivation, imbricate estivation, vexillary estivation, twisted estivation. So that estivation should be mentioned, or any special character, okay, or color of the sepal. Color of sepal you need to write, or any special characters. Any special character. ಯಾವುದಾದ್ರೂ ನಾರ್ಮಲ್ ಸೆಪಲ್ಗಿಂತ ಏನಾದರೂ ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ಆಗಿದೆಯಾ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನು ಯು ನೀಡ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಮೆನ್ಷನ್ ಅಂಡರ್ ದಿಸ್ ಕೇಲಿಕ್ಸ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಕಮ್ ಟು ದ ಕರೋಲಾ. What are the characters you wrote for this calyx? The same thing applicable to corolla as well. Okay, so corollagu same character apply ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಏನೇನು, ನಂಬರ್ ಆಫ್ ಪೆಟಲ್ಸ್, ನಂಬರ್ ಆಫ್ ಪೆಟಲ್ಸ್ ಎಷ್ಟಿದೆ, ಸೊ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಸೇಮ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಪೆಟಲ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ನಂಬರ್, ಪೆಟಲ್ಸ್ 5, like that you need to write. Then whether the sepal is petal is polypetalous or gamopetalous. ಪಾಲಿಪೆಟಲಸ್ ಇದೆಯೋ ಅಥವಾ ಗ್ಯಾಮೋಪೆಟಲಸ್ ಇದೆಯೋ ಮೆನ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಈಸ್ಟಿವೇಷನ್, ದ ಸೇಮ್ ಕೈಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಈಸ್ಟಿವೇಷನ್ characters are also applicable here for corolla. Then color of petal or any special character, okay, so that should be mentioned under the corolla. So inflorescence, flower, calyx and corolla. Okay, so next character is androecium. So androecium is a male reproductive structure of the flower. If the flower contains only androecium, it is called a staminate, or individual structure called stamen. If it contains only stamen, it is called a staminate, or the flower which contains only androecium is also staminate. Okay, next come to this androecium character. So what are the things you need to be write under this androecium? So under this androecium condition, you need to write the number of stamens first. Number of stamens. So ಎಷ್ಟಿರುತ್ತೆ, for example stamens 5, so like this. Okay, so first character stamens 5 you need to write. Then you need to be mentioned about whether the stamens are free or united. You already know the condition, like polyandrous. If all the stamens are free, it is called a polyandrous. If they are fused, the condition is called as adelphous. It's called adelphous. And you need to mention, so how many whorls are there? Adelphous were there, like monoadelphous, diadelphous, triadelphous, polyadelphous, like that you need to be mentioned. Okay, if no stamens are united, simply you can write it is polyandrous. Okay, then after this, whether the stamens are attached to the petal or not, okay, that should be mentioned. So that is called whether the petal is stamen is epipetalous or epiphyllous. Okay, and the adhesion of the stamen, epipetalous ideo, epiphyllous ideo. If nothing epipetalous is there or no epiphyllous condition is also there, no need to write anything. That indicates it is a polyandrous only. Okay. Then about the filament, whether the filament is long or short or any variation. In some plants there will be a variation in the filament length. So suppose 6 stamens were there, 4 filaments long, 2 filaments short, and 2 long, 2 short condition is also there. If any such condition is there, you need to mention under this filament. Then come to the anther, whether this anther attached to the base of a filament or it is attached to the dorsal side. So that condition is called as whether the anther is basifixed or dorsifixed. So this is basifixed and this is dorsifixed. ಅಂದರೆ ಸಪೋಸ್ ಇದು ಆಂಥರ್ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಫಿಲಮೆಂಟು ಇಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಅಟ್ಯಾಚ್ ಆಗಿದ್ರೆ ಬೇಸಿಫಿಕ್ಸ್ಡು, ಇದ್ರದ್ದು ಈ ಸೈಡಿಗೆ ಅಟ್ಯಾಚ್ ಆಗಿದ್ರೆ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಡಾರ್ಸಿಫಿಕ್ಸ್ಡ್. ದಟ್ ಶುಡ್ ಬಿ ಮೆನ್ಷನ್ಡ್. ಓಕೆ, then you need to mention what kind of anther it is, whether it is monothecous or Diathecus. So Diathecus anther. Okay, so that should be mentioned under this andrecium. Okay. So let's come to, and one more thing, it is epipetalous. Is if the stamens attached to the petal, it is called epipetalous. Epiphyllous means stamens attached to perianth. Okay, so this if the petal and sepals cannot be differentiated, the condition is called a perianth. I will tell that perianth after this gynoecium character. So let me tell that about the perianth later. Okay, then andrecium. Next come to the gynoecium character. So this is about the andrecium character. Next is gynoecium character. So what are all the things you need to be mentioned under this gynoecium character? So gynoecium. The first thing you need to be mentioned is number of carpels. Number of carpels, like carpels 5, carpels 5, or carpels 3, or carpel 1, like that you need to mention the number carpels 5. So this is example. So example carpels 5. Then you need to mention whether the carpels, if there are many carpels, all the carpels are fused or free. So that condition is called as apocarpus or syncarpus. So ಇದು ಅಪೋಕಾರ್ಪಸ್ ಇದೆಯೋ ಅಥವಾ ಸಿನ್ಕಾರ್ಪಸ್ ಇದೆಯೋ ಅನ್ನೋ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ನ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. Okay. So apocarpus, if the two carpels or many carpels were there, if all the carpels are free, they are not united, the condition is called as apocarpus. Then syncarpus, all the carpels are united, so the condition is called as syncarpus. Okay. And whether the gynoecium is superior or inferior, ovary is superior, ovary superior, ovary superior or inferior or of inferior. So in the flower character you wrote about the condition like epigynous, hypogynous or perigynous. The same terminologies in a different way we are going to write for this gynoecium. So superior ovary means hypogynous, then inferior ovary means epigynous, or semi-inferior for perigynous, or semi-inferior. Okay. So then come to the style and stigma characters. So style and stigma to be later, we will write it later. Then come to the arrangement of ovules in a ovary called as placentation. We need to mention about the placentation. Okay. So after the placentation, you need to write the style, like style character, whether it is long or short. Style ತುಂಬಾ ಉದ್ದ ಇದೆಯೋ ತುಂಬಾ ಶಾರ್ಟ್ ಇದೆಯೋ. Then stigma, stigma simple ಇದೆಯೋ ಅಥವಾ branched ಇದೆಯೋ, that should be mentioned. Okay. And along with that, so it can also be mentioned along with number of locules. So carpels ಆದ ನಂತರ apocarpus, syncarpus, then you need to mention about locules. So locule and the number of locules you need to be mentioned. So locule ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ chambers present inside the ovary, chambers present inside the ovary. So ಒಂದು ಓವರಿ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಕಾರ್ಪೆಲ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಆ ಕಾರ್ಪೆಲ್ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಚೇಂಬರ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್, ಈಗ ಇದು ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಪೆಲ್, ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಅನದರ್ ಕಾರ್ಪೆಲ್. ಇದು ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಪೆಲ್, ಕಾರ್ಪೆಲ್ಗೆ ಒಂದು ಚೇಂಬರ್ ಇದೆ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಒನ್ ಚೇಂಬರ್, ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಅನದರ್ ಚೇಂಬರ್. ಸೊ ಬೈ ಕಾರ್ಪೆಲ್ಲರಿ, ಬೈ ಲಾಕ್ಯುಲಾರ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಅದೇ ಥರ ಸಮ್ಟೈಮ್ಸ್ ಬೈ ಕಾರ್ಪೆಲ್ಲರಿ ಮಾನೋಲಾಕ್ಯುಲಾರ್ ಕೂಡ ಇರ್ಬೋದು. ಬೈ ಕಾರ್ಪೆಲ್ಲರಿ ಈ ಥರ ಮಾನೋಲಾಕ್ಯುಲಾರ್ ಕೂಡ ಇರ್ಬೋದು. ಚೇಂಬರ್ಸ್ ಒಂದೇ ಚೇಂಬರ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಎರಡು ಕಾರ್ಪೆಲ್ ಇರೋ ಥರನೂ ಇರ್ಬೋದು. ಓಕೆ. ಸೊ ಲೈಕ್ ದಟ್ ಯು ನೀಡ್ ಟು ಮೆನ್ಷನ್ ಹೌ ಮೆನಿ ಲಾಕ್ಯೂಲ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ present inside the ovary. So this is about the gynoecium character. Okay, actually perianth should be told here, but I am going to tell now. So if a condition where you cannot differentiate what is calyx, what is corolla, if they are both looks alike, the condition is called as perianth. Okay, so perianth. Perianth is a condition where you cannot differentiate calyx and corolla. So perianth andre the condition in which calyx or corolla cannot be differentiated. Calyx ಯಾವುದು ಕರೋಲಾ ಯಾವುದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗದೇ ಇರುವಂಥ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಅದು ಒಂದೇ ಥರ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ನೋಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ. ಸೊ ಸಚ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಇಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ perianth. And individual structure of perianth. Individual member of perianth is tepal. So individual member of calyx is sepal, individual member of corolla is petal, individual member of perianth is tepal. So we need to mention how number of tepals. Need to mention number of tepals. Okay, so tepals ಹೇಗಿದೆ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ಹೇಳಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. Then whether eastivation, you can tell the eastivation and Adelphus condition also, whether they are free or fused. Then this is similar to the character similar to the calyx and corolla. Okay, whether they are fused or free are the condition. So in case of calyx and corolla, we call it as a polysepalous or gamosepalous like. So but here we can going to write only free or fused. Then you can mention eastivation. So eastivation ಯಾವ್ದಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಾಯ್ತು. If to the perianth lobe if the stamens are attached, the condition called epiphyllous. Okay, so ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ epiphyllous ಅಂದ್ರೆ. Okay, so this is about the floral character. After this floral character, you are going to write about the fruit and seed. Okay, so fruit ಮತ್ತೆ seed ನ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. So in the previous classes we already discussed the characters of fruit and seed. So fruit is a modified ovary, seed is a modified matured ovary, and the seed is a matured ovule. So next character you need to write about the fruit. The first thing you need to write under the fruit is whether it is true fruit or false fruit. ಇದು true fruit ಇದೆಯೋ ಅಥವಾ false fruit ಇದೆಯೋ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ಹೇಳಬೇಕು. Then you need to mention whether it is fleshy or dry. Fleshy or dry. Fleshy fruit ಇದೆಯೋ ಅಥವಾ ಡ್ರೈ ಫ್ರೂಟ್ ಇದೆಯೋ ಹೇಳಬೇಕು. And actually fleshy fruit and dry fruit were already discussed in the previous class. Fleshy means the edible part is very smooth, whereas dry is completely dry, we cannot eat it. So in case of mango we already discussed edible part is mesocarp. Okay, whereas in coconut neither the epicarp, exocarp and mesocarp are edible. The internal endocarp, not endosperm is edible in coconut. Then whether the fruit is parthenocarpic or not. Parthenocarpic or not ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಬೇಕು. ಪಾರ್ಥೆನೋಕಾರ್ಪಿಕ್ ಫ್ರೂಟ್ ಅದು ಅಥವಾ ಪಾರ್ಥೆನೋಕಾರ್ಪಿಕ್ ಅಲ್ವೋ ಅಂತೇಳಿ. Then finally you are going to mention about the condition of the fruit. So ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಫ್ಲೆಶಿ ಮತ್ತು ಡ್ರೈ ಫ್ರೂಟ್ ಜೊತೆಗೆ you are already told like that. So true fruit or false fruit, fleshy fruit or dry fruit, parthenocarpic or not, and types of fruit. Sorry, we need to write about types of fruit. So types of fruit in the sense each and every type of a fruit has a specific technical term, a scientific name is there, like whether the fruit is drupe or berry or capsule or pod. So these are the different types of fruits. So I already discussed about this droop and berry. So droop ಮತ್ತೆ ಬೆರ್ರಿ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಯಾವಾಗಲೇ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಫ್ರೂಟ್ ಓದಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ. ಸೊ ಡ್ರೂಪ್ ಈಸ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಡ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಸಿಂಗಲ್ ovary with a single seed is comes under this droop. Fleshy fruit with many seeds is berry. Capsule, the dry decent fruit ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಫ್ರೂಟ್ ಡ್ರೈ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಒಳಗಡೆ ಮೆನಿ ಸೀಡ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪ್ಸೂಲ್ and it can be opened. Then a pod. Pod is a very specific type of fruit present in one specific family called as a leguminaceae. ಆ leguminaceನಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೋ ಫ್ರೂಟ್ ಟೈಪನ್ನು ನಾವು ಪಾಡ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಅದು ನಿಮಗೆ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ದ ಪಾಡ್ ಟೈಪ್. ಸೊ ಪಾಡ್ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಇಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಸೂಚರ್, ಈ ಥರ ಸೂಚರ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ರಿಮೂವ್ ದಿಸ್ ಸೂಚರ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಬೋತ್ ದ ಸೈಡ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಇನ್ಸೈಡ್ ಸೀಡ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಅರೇಂಜ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ ಎ ಮಾರ್ಜಿನಲ್ ಪ್ಲಾಸೆಂಟೇಷನ್. Okay, so such a fruit is called as a pod. So beans ಎಲ್ಲ ಇರುತ್ತಲ್ಲ, that comes under this pod. Okay, so ಇದೊಂದು ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಕೂಡ ಹೌದು, that can be mentioned. And the last character it will write is seed. So what kind of seed it is, whether it is endospermic or non-endospermic. So you need to be mentioned only these two characters. So endosperm idya athwa non endosperm idya athwa any special character, any special character ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಕೆಲವು ಸೀಡ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಒಂದಿಷ್ಟು ವಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಫಾರ್ ಡಿಸ್ಪರ್ಷನ್ಗೆ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡೋಂಥದ್ದು. ಅಂಥದ್ದೇನಾದರೂ ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದರೆ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಮೆನ್ಷನ್ ದಟ್ ಸೀಡ್. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಈವನ್ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಮೆನ್ಷನ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ಕಲರ್ ಆಫ್ ಎ ಸೀಡ್, ಕಲರ್ ಯಾವುದಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಮೆನ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ಸೊ ದೀಸ್ ಆರ್ ಆಲ್ ದ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಯು ನೀಡ್ ಟು ಬಿ ರೈಟ್ ಅಂಡರ್ ದ ಸೆಮಿ ಡಿಸ್ಕ್ರಿಪ್ಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಫ್ಲವರಿಂಗ್ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ಸ್, ಆರ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಸೆಮಿ ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕಲ್ ಡಿಸ್ಕ್ರಿಪ್ಷನ್. ಸೊ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಯೂಸ್ ದಟ್ ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕಲ್ ಟರ್ಮ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕಲ್ ಟರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಈಗ ಡ್ರೂಪ್, ಬೆರ್ರಿ, ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕಲ್ ಟರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಫಾರ್ ಫ್ರೂಟ್. ಸೊ ಲೈಕ್ ದಟ್ ಬೈ ಯೂಸಿಂಗ್ ದ ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕಲ್ ಟರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಡಿಸ್ಕ್ರೈಬ್ ದ ಫ್ಲವರಿಂಗ್ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಹ್ಯಾಬಿಟ್ ಟು ದ ಸೀಡ್. ಓಕೆ. So after this you can write the floral diagram by the floral characters. What were all the floral characters we studied, like a flower character, calyx, corolla, anoecium, gynoecium and perianth condition, that can be represented in a diagrammatic fashion called as a floral diagram, and that can be represented in a formula also called as a floral formula. Okay, so we can discuss it in the next class. Okay, thank you.